Hi everyone, Ichimi no Shavo here, the internet's busiest music nerd. And it's time for a review of the new Big Ups record, Before a Million Universes. This is the sophomore full-length album from New York post-hardcore and noise rock and punk band Big Ups. I loved their debut full-length album, 18 Hours of Static, that dropped a couple years ago. This record featured a set of very intense, animalistic songs, a lot of punk energy matched with some kind of cool spoken word passages. On this record, the band came off angry but thoughtful too, and there were moments on the album that I thought were kind of funny, like on the song Justice, where over and over they repeat the lyric, "Everybody says it's getting better all the time, but it's bad. It's still bad." There was definitely a sense of humor there, or at least the band was being so cynical it was funny. A lot of what I heard on this thing reminded me of Minor Threat, reminded me of Fugazi, but with more of a chaotic, noisy edge. The band and the album didn't have the most original sound on the block, but I think the group had a lot going for them, and I was interested to see where they would go next. I was kind of hoping they would develop a more distinct sound on their latest project, but with Before a Million Universes, I think Big Ups still continues to wear their influences on their sleeves. Even if their influences, I think, have diversified a little bit here, and this album is certainly a change of pace. The ferocity of the first album fades a little bit in favor of songs that have more subtle moments, are more dynamic, are longer, feature some kind of linear, winding song structures. Some of the vocals are kind of deadpan. There are more spoken word passages. The guitar work is pretty dreary. A lot of it reminds me of Slint's Spiderland, to the point where I get shots of deja vu here and there on this thing, like on the introductory moments of the song Posture. And of course, on this thing, Fugazi continues to be a big inspiration, though more like Red Medicine era Fugazi than like their debut album. This isn't really the non-stop wild ride that 18 Hours of Static was. There are a lot of mid-paced moments here, some very slow guitar riffs, some of which I think were heavier, but they don't quite reach that point because the production here is so rough and distorted a lot of the time. But I will say that the production has kind of an appealing snarl to it. This thing isn't as visceral or maybe as physically pummeling as the debut album, but I do think it is emotionally pummeling. And working in these really soft and minimal, low-key guitar passages do keep the album from being one-dimensional. However, not every one of them goes over well, because it really does seem like sometimes the band is trying to live vicariously through the Slint playbook, like on the song So Much You, where they just take so much time to get going, and it seems like they're just purposefully trying to work the listener into the deepest of lulls before just at the 2 minutes and 30-second mark, just BAM! Hit them with some hard and heavy guitars. The rhythm guitars on the song Feathers of Yes are super stiff and get stale pretty fast. And the slow guitar leads on Meet Where We Are I find to be very patience testing, and there isn't exactly any relief once the band goes into a heavier guitar passage where I just cannot wait for it to be over. No question the best part on this song is its chaotic finish. However, even though I may not like a couple of these slower passages worked into these songs, the band always delivers a decent payoff. And they do get kind of experimental, and they go left with it occasionally, like on the closing track here, where the heavy, slow guitar riffs that the band transitions into have this really weird syncopated groove to it. I guess I just wish some of the performances on these tracks were more lively, some of the writing more intricate, maybe a little more sound play. Some of the soft guitar passages come off a little colorless because the production is a little tinny. But these are pretty much my main complaints with the record, these specific songs. I like a vast majority of this album, and I guess I nitpick a little bit because I feel like the band had a little more potential than what they delivered here. Overall, I still think it's a great record. A majority of the time, these subtle moments are incorporated well, and they contrast very heavily from the heavy guitars and the emotional outbursts that the band delivers very consistently. I love the hideous bass and guitar distortion that pops up on nearly every single track here, like the song National Parks, which was a great lead single to tease toward this album, or the song Posture, which has one of the greatest snaps and riffs on the entire thing. The roaring slide guitars on the song Hope for Someone are really great. And the song Capitalized features these really weird guitar licks that just pop into the song in between this really great bass groove, and every single time this little guitar lick pops up, the band just stops to create complete silence to make room for this little guitar lick. And the song Night has a really admirably weird intro to it, the way that the bass and the guitars are just so chaotic and they don't match up. It reminds me a little bit of a no-wave song. And there's a bunch of weird layers of guitar feedback right at the end of the song that, in an odd way, remind me of R2-D2. But thankfully they aren't R2-D2 samples. The song Contain Myself features these plucked guitar harmonics and really weird drones that play very nicely over this bass and drum groove that really eases the listener into the album. I'm impressed with most of the songs on this record, and I find myself coming back to it again and again and again. I think adjusting to a slightly softer Big Ups had me underwhelmed at first, but it took me a little bit to realize that this album's punch is more cerebral than it is physical. And while there may be a lot of blatant Slint worship on here, I can't deny that the band, when they are indulging in that, they're doing a pretty good job. I like the energy of this record. I like the mood of this record. I like a majority of the writing. I think the aggression comes off well when they are indulging in that, just like it did on the first album. I like that the band got more ambitious with song structure on this thing, and I appreciate the slightly more abstract approach as well. Hopefully they continue to experiment and they strike upon something that's a little more distinct with their next release. But if you liked the last album and you're looking for a rough, dirty, punky rock record that is a little fringe and is a bit of a throwback, I think you're going to like this a lot. I'm feeling a strong 7 to a light 8 on this LP. Transition. Good album, good album, good album, good album. I hope you're doing well. You're the best. What did you think of this record? Did you love it? Did you hate it? Why? What do you think I should review next? And that's it. Anthony Fantano, Big Ups, Before a Million Universes, forever.